If you come into work with an Elux in hand, it's over.
Well, to me, a vape is the equivalent of a bloke drinking a whiskey with a straw. Like, it's like if you're going to do it, you have a cigar. Like, if you're going to smoke something.
Yeah.
Like, it's so feminine. Like, if a grown man is sucking on some multicolored strawberry flavored fucking whatever it was, there's something going wrong. There is something going wrong.
As a testosterone derived male to inhale an estrogen derived liquid.
It's harrowing, mate. We've gone out of all of the things that have gone wrong in the UK. That's the worst. I would say is the vape. It's 100% the vape.
No, that's if you vape. Sorry,
I do not condone.
We can't accept the application.
It's an instant disqualification on any CV. It's like that's the number one question. I don't care about anything other than the fact that you vape.
Well, there's two things that are banned: vapes and Crocs.
Crocs? I get behind that. I can't stand them.
No.
Where did Crocs come from?
I don't know, but they need to go back to wherever they came from. That's why we have them banned in the office. And there's one guy in particular who happens to have both consistently, and he's on thin ice. Very thin ice.
So you managed to employ someone that has Crocs and a vape addiction?
I prefer not to talk about it, but unfortunately,
I kind of held you to a higher standard than that.
I know. It's the one loose straw, but there's not a lot we can do about him.
What do you think of vapes as a Balkan?
Disgusting.
Why?
Cancer.
Oh, that's not a good reason to stop it. Let's be honest.
Okay,
so let's trade it for something that's more cancerous.
It's basically gay version of cigarettes.
There we go. Tutti frutti.
Yeah, tutti frutti in your mouth, sucking it all day long. Tutti frutti.
When you describe it like that, I think everybody's going to stop.
I actually, I got a reputation for. I was never. Actually, that's one big thing. There is definitely a difference between people that smoke cigarettes and cigars. Like, there is just something that's dirty about cigarettes.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, cigars that just smell nice. They're a nice thing to indulge in, and people that smoke them, I don't part them up.
I find no matter whether it's girl, guy, someone I like, don't like, if they smoke a cigarette, I find it repulsing. But then if there's someone smoking a cigar, for some reason, I don't know what it is, I'm just completely fine with it. And I think it's the fact of what it is that they're actually taking part in, less so than the actual smell. You look at it differently, even though it's probably the same smell for the most part.
Well, it isn't actually, because the manufacturing process of the tobacco of making a cigar is pretty much it. They don't have a load of additives. They don't have all the extra crap that goes in it. And I think that I love things in life where you do things more for the event of that thing rather than just trying to consume the product.
That's what the whiskey
this is right. About. So for me, I actually had a real issue with alcohol when I was going through some very stressful times. Out of everything, I've never taken recreational drugs. Obviously, I've done the naughty gym stuff and everything else. But outside of performance enhancing, yes. But recreational, the only thing I ever really got bad on was alcohol. And for me, I realized that it became more about the alcohol itself and being drunk than it was about the enjoyment of the thing. So for me, now it's about the pastime. It's about enjoying the event, indulging in something more than just the drink. It's the social environment of it. It's the heritage of that whiskey, where it came from, how it tastes, what you paired it with, and actually enjoying the process. And that's actually lost nowadays. I think just in general, we're so fast with everything. We never take time to just be grounded in the present and think about what it is that we're doing and if we're actually enjoying it or not, actually making time to enjoy it.
I haven't drank a celebratory or a non-celebratory whiskey since I was 18, 19. I stopped completely for a number of years when I was competing for obvious reasons, and then picked it up again in the last couple of years, but mainly through the celebration of good. So in the office, if we're to achieve, say, a record day in revenue, or we've had an amazing new signing come on board, or whatever it might be within business terms that's gone well, we'll often in the office for the communal benefits, we'll cheers a whiskey. You know, we'll pull out something like a Blue Label and we'll just each cheers a whiskey, not necessarily for the taste. Nobody really cares. I mean, whiskey makes you feel best out of all alcohol, in my opinion. So there is that perk to it. But other than that, really, it's more just the art of cheersing and the communal team environment that creates.
I've thought about this before, and I thought about alcohols and how it makes you feel. Now, I do think there is an argument for different alcohols making you feel different ways. However, I've just noticed the kind of people that drink whiskey in the environment which they drink in tends to be different to other alcohols. So alcohol for me is just an amplifier. So if you are around good people, having a nice time and doing a nice event, adding in a whiskey or any alcohol for that matter is likely to enhance that event.
Maybe, but I don't think you can have a sophisticated sambuca.
But you talk about sophistication, exactly. So it's the event that happens, not necessarily the alcohol.
Agreed.
So I think it's less about the alcohol itself, about making it feel good. I think it's about the people and the events and the type of people that drink whiskey. And this is what I've done more recently in my life. I like to indulge in events that filter people and things and environments that I don't want to be in around. So for me, I like joining clubs. I like creating my own club, and I like them to be a barrier to entry because it's the caliber of people and the type of things that you do together that enhance that event so much more. And something what I've learned more in life is like, there is a reason people go to certain places and they go to others. And I've become myself, I haven't become a recluse. I've just become very cultivating in who I hang around and what I choose to do. And I don't think it's being pretentious or snobby. It's just, I love being around people with similar morals and ethics, and it's becoming harder and harder to find.
It is.
really is.
That's why the office has been such a breath of fresh air, because the standards are held so highly in regards to the kind of people that come in, that are around, the standards necessary to uphold your job, but also your place in the team. You know, that is ultimately what a lot of the culture is about, and it's about holding yourself to a standard as a guy beyond just holding yourself to the value you bring to the business. And I think that's where, I mean, we've referenced multiple times today the importance of culture within your team. And for me, the whiskey is just one part of the complicated process of building that culture. It's one of the many things that we do that promotes the positives, the rewarding of the hard works. And I think that whiskey has a time and a place for that, as does smoking a cigar. I mean, at our house, we have a full cigar room with a full-size humidor and everything else. And I'll be honest, I think probably smoked in the last year 2 cigars in there maybe, because for me, it's not about the cigar. It's about the environment that room creates. It's about the fact that if we do have one, it's a deal and it matters and it's important and it's positive. And it's the art of being able to bring people that have done well, you know, into this place because of the environment that it creates. It's seen as a very positive thing. If the whiskey's out, that's a good thing. Whereas in a lot of society, if the alcohol's out, it's probably for a bad reason to come.
So one thing that I'm fascinated by, and probably the thing that I actually think about probably more than most other things in business, is actually creating culture and becoming a good leader within a business. So obviously for you, that's obviously been an underlying factor because you employ now a lot of people. And for me, people are the hardest thing to manage in a business because the number of variables and also the ever-evolving person. Like, for example, you know, I spoke to you earlier about this. It's like you can have the best person on the planet right now, but they might decide to up sticks and leave to Thailand tomorrow, or go through a horrible divorce or something go on in their personal life, and all of a sudden that person is no longer the same. So I've found as the best way to manage people, yes, you can have SOPs, yes, you can have financial incentives, but the best way to handle a lot of people is through strong culture, because that's the one thing that will unite people without consistent management. And that trickles down from the top. So what do you do specifically as a business owner with a lot of staff to encourage and help nurture and build on the culture that you've got?
I think the vision for the business has to be big enough in order for everybody's dreams to fit inside of it. If you want to have good talent has big dreams. If you want their big dreams to fit inside of your company, there has to be a big vision that they can align with. And I think the second step to that is on a day-to-day basis, understanding what people are actually getting up out of bed for. The entire world has a fundamental need for financial incentive, okay? And everybody, whether they want to admit to it or not, is financially incentivized to some extent. Others more than some more than others. But I do believe that everybody has that basic need. Whereas beyond that, how we really tap into getting the most out of every individual person is by knowing exactly what motivates them. One particular person has a difficult home life, doesn't get to see much of his kids these days. So for him, a work-life balance is going to be one of the best ways to get the most out of him. For her, she might find that actually she has aspirations to do her own thing, and giving her the tools to master her own skill set is how you get the most out of her for the time frame that she's here. You know, I think purpose, mastery, work-life balance, finances in their own right. These are all different ways of motivating the right kind of people. And if you know what motivates them and you deliver, you will get the best out of them. But if you're trying to incentivize somebody with something they don't care for, then they don't have the reason to get out of bed with the same stride that you do.
Yeah, most people are motivated by the thing that they have deprived in the most, or they're most deprived in. So, as you said rightly, everyone's got. For me, the fundamental, base of any business is the financial incentive. Like, people have to earn to live, but find out what they're deprived in, because someone might have a ton of love at home. They might have those things. Their deprivation might be a lack of skill set. It might be a desire to feel a sense of purpose, and it might even be just deprivation of being congratulated or praised for their job role.
Yeah,
and I think it's 100% that. The biggest thing for me really is the actual leader and the standard that they set, and being uncompromising in who you are as a man, as a leader. That for me is everything, because everybody is looking at you as the example. And you can never, ever hide from that. You can never have an off day. You can never back off. You can never lower your tolerance or expectations below a certain point, because people will see it, they will feel it, and that's infectious in a bad way. It's poison.
It goes on in all different ways that you can imagine that term as well, because whether it be in the physical attributes of just getting in the trenches and working more hours, I still believe that as a leader, as a CEO, as a founder, as whatever you are, if you want to have a team that genuinely believe in you as a leader, they have to be seen. You have to be seen to be prepared to do what they do. No aspirational good leader will ask someone to do something that they wouldn't be prepared to do for their own business. And I think if you are able to get in the trenches and do an 18, 20, 24, 30-hour shift if needed, that leads by example, but also in the way that you act. A good leader would not act out of emotion. A good leader is stoic. A good leader will be able to make decisions that have been critically thought about. They'll laterally review the situation and make a decision that makes sense for the situation and not based on their emotion. So it comes in so many formats, whether it be physical, mental, emotional. The art of being stoic, the art of being thorough, the art of being diligent, the art of working hard is a way to lead. And I think that we're each responsible for the way that people work for us. If somebody's not working hard for you, the emphasis is on the for you, because they will work hard for the right thing. If you give that person the chance to go and work their dream job or play professional sport, make $1 million a week, they'll do it, and they'll do it well. The reality is it's for you. And I think you can always reverse engineer. I mean, going into the specifics of particular task completion from certain members of the team, you can reverse engineer why someone didn't do something for you in any case. Most of the time people will say, oh, well, this member of the staff just didn't do something because they're just clearly not motivated. They're clearly not in the right place. They're not doing very well at work at the moment, whatever. Well, actually, did they know exactly what they needed to do? If not, then that's your fault for not training them. Did they know exactly how to do it? If not, then that's your fault for not making it clear. Did they know when it needed to be done by? No. If not, then you didn't set the deadline very well. There's often a very different person responsible for that person's problem, and their downfall stems from your role as a leader.
Yeah, I think for me, when you've actually done a good job of building a culture that is completely, all-encompassing and running well, someone that spends one day with you and your team will either fit in immediately or be a clear outlier and someone that doesn't fit in. Mm-hmm. I know for a fact, they just click. And also the great thing about a good culture and also a personal brand now is that for me, it's a massive filter. I have really strong job applications from people that just follow my journey online, which has been actually, because this is one thing we talked about earlier. She was like, okay, how does a personal, because I understand that personal brand is a really difficult thing to quantify why you would want to do it, because it's like, where's the monetization come from? Yes, if you have a direct monetization funnel, if you're a fitness coach or you're a mentor or whatever, it's easy. But let's just say, for example, you run like financial industries or services, and there's not really any direct benefit from having a big personal brand. If anything, it's probably more risky, because you're more likely to, on face value, actually get fuck up. You only have to fuck up once and it damages investor relations, and a lot of that world is predicated on...
You lose a lot of time, you onboard the person.
Of course, and a lot of those industries are still quite archaic, and they get really twitchy when someone they're dealing with is on social media putting out public information, whether it be to do with the business or not. It's just you, the representative of them, and they're worried about what people will think of them, and it's still very much that world, so I fully understand that. However, one massive bonus is it's a huge filter for people that are attracted to your business, because if you're doing a good job and you're being very authentic and actually putting out what you truly believe in, the kind of people that start to apply for your jobs are those people. In the last year, since I've actually made a much larger effort to be just me online and really push my personal brand, everyone that's come to work for us and applied for a job has actually been bang on. Because I think it's very clear to anyone that isn't like that this ain't the role.
Yeah,
it ain't the company for you.
I can second that for sure. I mean, we actually have a pretty tight policy with what we do, in the sense that if you want to get a job with us, somebody internally has to vouch for you. And if they don't vouch for you, if nobody can vouch for you, then it's not to say that it's not possible, because we have, of course, the use case for certain very specific talent that maybe not somebody knows. But for the most part, that vouch will immediately qualify or non-qualify somebody. And beyond that, the vetting process for somebody that's non-qualified is very thorough. But I agree with your point completely, because the more content that we've done, the more we've made it clear our perspective on the world, the more we've pushed out our presence in the space and our belief systems and the reasons why we do things the way we do, more and more people actually tap into that and say, you know what, I like the way you do things. I agree with X and Y principle that you guys have, and therefore I want to add X or Y value. Whereas before it's just like, hey, you got any jobs? There's an immediate correlation between the way they feel and what you stand for. And when someone comes in and believes in the vision and value that your company has, their dreams will automatically sit inside your company, because they see it as a gateway to pursuing what they want.
So Liam, let me ask you this. How on earth did someone that wears Crocs and smokes vapes wheedle their way in? What happened?
Elliot,
where did you go wrong, mate? There is. I had so much respect for you. From today, we went to the gym, you lifted heavy, you're a stand-up guy, you're clearly intelligent, and then you go and tell me you hired someone that has Crocs and smokes vapes.
This is an ongoing issue.
I have issues with that.
I know.
You know that RPG?
I would quite happily put myself in plain sight. I mean,
who vouched for him?
There's a number of problems.
That guy's accountable too. Pack him up. It was you.
You're looking at him.
Did he have one of the specialist skill sets that we're talking about?
There's a number of problems that we have in the business, and number one is, without doubt, the infestation of Crocs and vapes in the office.
I'm coming down. Clearing this shit
acts
up.
of violence are being planned.
I'm coming down. I'll fucking start throwing punches. Set of keys. We'll go swing it in.
Yeah.
And
it's a shame that he sat right there.
No, I don't see him as a Croc guy.
Nah.
He's too handsome for that. I always think people wear Crocs maybe slightly more portly.
Portly?
Portly, yeah. A little bit more on the... This is not a skinny person. I just have an image of... I have a very, very clear image of exactly what this person looks like.
You
I
know
wonder how accurate it is. I wonder how accurate it is.
Do you know? I don't know who you think it is. Yeah, you do.
Oh, friggin' hell.
It's a shame. I mean, actually, do you know what? There's two vapors and one Croc wearer, isn't there?
What I find fascinating with you is, how did you pivot from being involved in an industry to see opportunities that were actually more of a parallel and complementary to a business? Because that for me that's when you messaged me and we spoke, that was the thing that alerted me the most to your entrepreneurship, because that's the same kind of thing that I like to do. Is I'm always looking for the opportunity not to do what everyone else is doing. Mm-hmm. So for example, when everyone was fitness coaching, I was like, how do I become the educator of the fitness coaches? Mm-hmm. You know, when everyone's doing, you know, meta marketing, it's like, hey, how do I get TikTok ads? Like, what's the next big thing? When, you know, the internet came out, I was like, okay, how do we do e-commerce first? I've always been, how do I get that point? And what I like about you is you've built more of the infrastructure than working within the business itself, which is a very hard task to do, because with that comes a tremendous amount of problem solving. Yes. Because what you're dealing with is consistent hurdles and blocks that no one else has to that point been managed to solve. Mm-hmm. So that's quite an industrious person. Mm-hmm. So how do you identify and go about attacking those things?
Well, I think our entire reason behind the embarkment into the adult world wasn't necessarily the adult itself. We saw the problems within the adult industry. It was nothing to do with adult. It was the fact that that happened to be the industry that we noticed the problems that we felt we could solve. We were brought up very well, both Cam and I. We had amazing parents, and in every way we were taught the right way to be as men. We were taught how to treat people with respect, how to do the right thing, how to be an honourable, honest, integral person, which wasn't, unfortunately, the way of the industry. You know, at least the adult that we met was an industry where people's intentions weren't genuine, you know, whether that be sexual, whether that be financial, you know, the nature of what went on was not what people would want to think is what went on. And unfortunately, that's something that you can't necessarily fix, and that will always be something that will go on in all industries. There will always be elements of exploitation in every vertical across every industry. But we felt that we could solve a lot of problems there. We felt we could bring things to the industry that would cater for a better environment for everybody. So whether it be from financial aspects in terms of creating a much easier time for everybody to comply with tax, you know, the communication with tax authorities, the freedom of information about how to actually conduct yourself within this industry as far as tax is concerned, the access to banking that does tolerate higher risk industries, the access to accountancy that does accept people in adult. You know, we don't believe that accountants should say, no, we don't want to work with you because you're high risk. Why should they suffer? We don't agree with banks saying, no, we don't want to work with you because you're above our risk tolerance. Why should they suffer? So we felt that there was a clear need for somebody to come along and be accepting of people in the space, but in a way where our intentions were still with them. Most people that can currently solve the problems that outstood would do so on the basis that it serves them. Exceptionally high fees, underhand arrangements, disingenuine intentions with people at heart, and we didn't believe in that. So the rationale for why we went into the space, why we saw the opportunity to be industrious and pick up on adult, was that there were so many problems that were, in our eyes, so easy to solve by just being good people. And I found it amazing that we could have such a strong USP in such a lucrative industry by just being good people. And I think if I posed anybody today with the opportunity to have an incredibly powerful, unique selling point in an incredibly lucrative industry without doing anything massively creative in the first place, I think 100 people out of 100 would accept that opportunity. So that's how we got into it. And I think since then it's been a very prosperous journey, solving a lot of problems for people that really needed it. So I'm very proud of the journey that we've gone on. I think there's a lot left in terms of the problems are still there. There's still more problems to solve. And for every problem you solve, you create the new one. Mm-hmm. So we're still actively trying to solve those and make the industry a better place for everyone.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of that. And something you touched on there was, you said you can't necessarily change the things that happen in an industry or belief systems and cultures. But the best way to do it is to lead by example and show people an alternative and a better way of doing it. Like, what people love to try and do is force their opinions and be critics in those environments, whatever it may be, yet offer no solution or show people how it should be done. And this is something I'm a massive advocate in. Like, in life, I don't necessarily agree with a lot of the role models that are out there or the way people believe they have to live and they have to sacrifice everything for the expense of money. So I thought, well, rather than tell people this is how you should do it, there's a better ways, well, actually, I can go and do it myself. Mm-hmm. And then I will show you. And one big thing that I've been doing is utilizing Bulgaria. Funny enough, it's crazy how this has come about, where I understand those key fundamentals that it's show, don't tell, right? And I saw things in the Balkans, Eastern Europe, Bulgaria specifically, that I had lost faith in the UK would ever come back. And I couldn't figure out myself how I was ever going to have enough impact to actually get people to start living those traditional values again and actually change, whether that be in business, in life, as a gentleman, as a family member, as a boss, or whatever it may be. And I thought, actually, you know what? If I can show people who have lost those ways or have never actually adopted them, here's the people that have actually done it and are doing, and look how amazing their life is and how good it can be. You will start to encourage change because you are showing and demonstrating as a leader. And I love that you've gone into an industry that wasn't happening and said, hey guys, we're not just going to tell you how to do this differently, we're actually going to show you and actually build the infrastructure for you to be able to do it.
We didn't tell anybody.
You just did it. You just showed them.
And we continue to
I love that.
to do that now.
That's brilliant.
We continue to bring things into play that solve the marketplace. And one of the things that I'd love to do is actually regulate the space. It's a current ongoing problem. We've been working on ways to do it for a long time, but as you know, regulating an industry of that size is no easy rodeo, and we're definitely not close to the finish line in any stretch. But I think that's something that we're actively pursuing the end goal of. And if we can make the industry a safe place for everyone, a place where people can make money without worrying what people's agendas are, without worrying who might come after them and pursue them for X, Y, or Z reason, that's a good industry, and that's a better industry than it was, and that's goal achieved for us. So actively working on it, and I'm sure with years to come we'll hopefully get closer to that. I'd love to know actually from you, Elliot, where it came from in terms of your first inspirations to take better steps, and who you looked up to, more speaking specifically for business.
In terms of actual real solid role models growing up, I honestly didn't have many, and I actually attribute my slowness in getting to where I am because of that. Although for most people, I achieved a lot in a very short period of time, I know now if I went back and I'd had better guidance, I would have done it in a third of the time. Mm-hmm. Genuinely, I was slow. I just started so early and worked so fucking hard. That offsets a lot of time, right? And I never have guilt or regret about not doing certain things, but if I were to do it again, the first thing I would go and seek is better mentors and better advisors. My ego and my arrogance completely blinded my awareness of the abundant wisdom you can get from someone that's just been there and done it, that can guide you.
And for young guys watching that maybe feel similar to that and feel they don't have that mentor, I mean, where would they go to find these mentors? Is there places, or, where would they go to find these kind of mentors? Or do you think that it just happens naturally?
I'm a big believer as you do have to go out and proactively find these things. But I think if you actually really work on becoming someone deserving.
So you think you can attract it?
More than I ever thought possible.
Yeah.
More than I ever thought possible. I think that goes for women, that goes for staff, that goes for business deals, that goes for happiness. Mm-hmm. You have to work on yourself. And it sounds very wooey, but the more I've worked on myself and the less I've focused on directly trying to find things, the more those things have come.
Well, the less you focus on anything, the more it happens. Whether it, again, be women, money, better people, better friends.
Only if I think you then put that into a proactive improvement in yourself.
I always think about, let's take money, for example. I always speak quite constructively about, if you are interested in money, then stop thinking about money and start focusing on the environment where money is easily made. In what environments are money made? Well, when you have a business that offers value in a marketplace that is lucrative, and you're doing so with good talent and people that believe in the project. There's a lot to think about in terms of the environment that creates. The same way that if we think about women, well, don't chase women, chase the men that women want. Go after what they have. Work out how you become more like them. Right, he takes pride in the way that he dresses. He hits the gym very hard. He chases his purpose. They see that he's on a mission every day. He's combat ready. He has a business. He makes his money. He has a good job, whatever it might be. If you stop focusing on the outcome and start focusing on the inputs that go into that outcome, you can quickly attract it in abundance. And I think for my experience, obviously I'm a little younger than you, and maybe I've got a perspective that will change in time. But for me so far, I've got myself around very good people, but it's all happened by accident, and it's all happened by just attracting better people. When you're a man with purpose, mm-hmm. other men with purpose see that. Mm-hmm. And I think they naturally will pull you in the same way. There's a lot of young guys around me that I'm already pulling in, and I think, you know what, you're 19, you're going to be good, come with me, sort of thing. And I now see that happened to me 4 years ago. I've been pulled in. But thank fuck I have, because now I've got great people around me. I mentioned to you earlier, one of my best friends is low 50s. What a guy. One of my best friends, look up to him in every way, spend a lot of time with him. And the closest person, I would say, in terms of the way that my mind resonates to anybody else, excluding Cam, a person who I will speak the most honestly with, the person I will see the most eye to eye with. He's over double my age, but it doesn't matter, because that's what a mentor should be like.
It's profound. And like I said, my arrogance and inability to actually allow myself to be a better man was the thing that stopped people pulling me in. And it's the same thing for me now. as Phil would attest, everyone in my circle is people that I've pulled in because I see those traits in them now. I wouldn't have pulled me in when I was younger. If I look back at me when I was 20, there's no fucking way that I would have pulled me in based on who I was.
I haven't thought about that, but I completely agree. I'm just thinking in real time, I'm putting myself through that.
And like Teddy, who we've just brought on, right? He's 15 or 16? 16. And I see things in him that I never had until like probably my 30s. And that's why I've now given him a massive... Sorry?
What sort of things?
His ability to be completely selfless in what he's doing, and I know there's a gut feeling there that this is more than just for his paycheck. He's not being insincere with his actions. His ability to go out of his way, and actually he just dropped out of college after spending a few days with us, after having worked for 4 months for free, after reaching out to us because he just saw us online and wanted to be around us. Like, no fucking way I would have done that. I would have been a lot more focused on how much I was getting out of it, and never once asked what was in it for him. Right?
It's good that you can reflect on that.
Massive. And Nicola, who sat over there, he tried to get me off a snow-capped mountain in Bulgaria, come to see me in his country, bought me a gift, quit his very well-paid job at the drop of a hat to come and work for me for free because he believed in the mission and helped me carve a mission. And now he has a seat right next to me at the table. And it's their ability to be better men that got them with people that would actually accelerate their path. Now, had I not been such an arse in my 20s, maybe someone may have pulled me in and I'd be exponentially further ahead than I am now. I actually think it was my biggest hindrance. Huge.
I can't speak for you, of course, but yeah, I can definitely agree with the concept.
And if that sounds to me like you've obviously been given a seat, which is the most important thing. I am now finally getting given those seats. It's 10 years too late. Now, I'm lucky that I actually figured this stuff out, but some people never do. But I know it's not that constructive of criticism, and it's not like, take this pill, do 10 sit-ups, go and learn this skill and you'll be successful. The best advice I can possibly give you is become a man deserving of it.
Yeah, I talk about that a lot in terms of creating the environment for what you want rather than focusing on what you want. I always use that concept in business as well. You know, people want, if we're going to define the success, the wealth, the money, the material things as the water inside the cup. I often make reference to this with some of the business stuff they do on a mentorship basis, whereby if people are focused on pouring the water in, but the cup has loads of holes in, then it doesn't matter how much SEO, marketing, whatever else you do, the water will distill and fall. If you focus on building a better cup, which is an environment for a business to make money, which is a better product or service, which is the right industry, which is the best people around you, which is your own personal get up and go in the day. You know, they're all the things that build a better, bigger cup that will house more water and keep it. You know, it's one of the easiest ways to reduce your churn by being in a better environment yourself.
It is. And the biggest hack of all is actually to be around a mentor that will just tell you that. You don't have to figure it out for you.
That's wrong.
Exactly. Like,
but knowing that it comes from a place...
Well, I had to figure all this stuff out the hard way because I didn't have anyone that was just like, Elliot, you're doing that all fucking wrong, mate. Like, you're going to come unstuck.
You know
there.
what's mad though? You probably did, because I reflect back now and think, well, we probably both actually had those people, but that young arrogance doesn't let you see it. Possibly. And it's not necessarily that people come in, it's more that you can just see them now. And I think maybe that was the journey that I've gone on, I think, in terms of like being able to put myself to the side and see what I see rather than see what arrogant me wanted to see. I was way more self-assured when I made 5-10 grand a month, whatever, as a fitness coach than I am now, which is a crazy perspective to have, but it shows the value of it. And I think that's a journey that most successful people will go on, and the earlier the better, for sure.
When did you start feeling your first success and, for example, sit down one night and reflected, damn, I really made something for myself?
Material-wise, there was this one occasion actually with a guy called Ben who was a part of our team at the time, and we grew our first office. It was a residential house that we were letting at the time. My girlfriend and I, we moved into a house, and fast forward a bit of time, it eventually became a 3-story office. But I remember it was the night before collecting 2 Lamborghinis, which was a dream come true for me. And I didn't think much into it. We were collecting them early morning. It was like 2 or 3 in the night. And we hadn't got to really grips with what we were doing, I don't think. And I remember he was like, I don't think you realize what you're doing tomorrow. I don't think you realize the achievement that you've made. I don't think you realize how much your life will change from tomorrow onwards. And it was kind of like oh shit, yeah, like that's actually happening tomorrow, which was super weird because I always try and put it off, don't think about it. The second I start thinking about it is the second I start making it. That was very much the thesis that I had on it. But there was definitely a reflection that night on, oh my God, that's actually happening tomorrow and it's actually coming into fruition. That was one thing that I really remember. I can remember sat there at my desk and looking at him and just being like, huh. A very vivid memory for me.
And what about you, Elliot?
Now you say it, I was just thinking back. The period, the moment that hit me the most about having finally achieved success was I was in my first house at 21. I bought a 4-bedroom detached house in the southeast of England. And I'd had this crazy vision throughout my teens that I just wanted to have Christmas dinner at my house and me to be the host and have all my family there and that be something that I had bought for us, where I had secured the family, we were all under my roof, and just sit there prideful. I had this image in my head going over and over again. And it finally happened. Bought this, it wasn't even that big, but 4-bedroom detached house. We had a small dining room table. I kind of added a bit to it and I got the whole family around. And I built a little island in there. And I remember just sat there on Christmas Day and everyone was just crammed into this little kitchen, sat around the table, eating their Christmas dinner. And I had this moment of pure elation, joy, gratitude that I had made that happen. Finally, after all these years, having that family there in that situation was everything to me. That was definitely the biggest, most monumental point in my life because I've been working towards it for so long.
The experiences that you share with the people you love is definitely one. I mean, there's only one other thing that comes to mind for me, which was being sat on a private jet with my dad. Actually flew out to Tyson Fury fight in Saudi and flew him out for that. And we got a private jet and it was such an experience because we'd never experienced, I mean, I'd never flown business or him or me. And so being able to do that together and share that experience, I remember being sat there again, just kind of looking at him, smiling, drinking the champagne, looking out the window, like, yeah, this is cool. This is a good feeling. I'm happy now. This is why I do it. This is why the 18-hour days are worth it. And I think the ability to share those moments is what makes it count.
So here's another question as well. Sounds to me like you had a similar upbringing to me, although my parents are divorced. I came from a very standard upbringing that there was like no real pain. It was easy. We didn't have money. Lived in a council house, but it wasn't exactly like I was going like starving or I went without clothes. And it was like, I don't remember there being anything specifically that hard. Life was quite easy. And I was still a driven motherfucker, like savage. And people always say to me like, Elliot, where did that come from? You must have had a lot of pain. I'm like, no. What about you? Was there
When I was young, my parents were very poor, very, very poor. I don't really know that my mum worked at all. I don't think she worked. If she did, she definitely wasn't making any money. My dad had a very low paying job as well. And I see the house that we grew up in. It's really not something to be seen. But fortunately, through my teens, my dad started to make a bit more money. Nothing crazy, and obviously with personal income tax and that these days, I mean, the disposable wasn't exactly there. I mean, there was nothing crazy, but it was definitely fortunate enough, and I'm very happy with the way that I was brought up. I definitely didn't suffer either. But I think the drive comes from within, and it comes from the people that your parents are rather than the life that they give you. You know, my dad played sports to a good level. He played professional football for a short while, didn't quite make it. He was very, very high up in British badminton. He played a lot of sports successfully. I went on to do the same in a number of different sports. And I think that discipline you can teach in sport will carry into business as well. So I don't think it was necessarily that there was anything in the upbringing from a financial standpoint, but the discipline that was kicked into me by my father, who also happened to work in education. So he kind of kicked me into line with the importance of school and discipline. He would kick me into line with the importance of being physically capable and good at sport. And I think those attributes carried over into my approach to anything of interest, which is why when I then did sports, I did gaming, I did business, anything I did as well as I could. And I was just brought up to whatever you do, do it to the best of your ability. My granddad, my dad would always push that into me for sure. So I think really it's about the way you brought up in terms of the people and the skills that they want to pass over and the values that they give rather than the fortune that they have. I think coming from an environment of fortune is more of a detriment because it doesn't leave you with the aspiration to go out and achieve it because you've had it.
So I actually disagree with that.
Okay.
Because I've had a completely different experience.
Interesting.
I didn't have any of that. I had an easy life, but I had no getting kicked into touch. I had no pushing. I had no discipline outside of the discipline I gave myself. And I still ended up the way I am. Yeah, you take the rest of my family, my brother, who was 3 years younger than me, had the same upbringing. He's nothing like me. Mm-hmm. Completely different. Mm-hmm. So I actually don't have an answer for that because I get asked it all the time. Because obviously people look up to me, I mentor people, I influence people. They say, what was it that you had that I didn't that got you to where you are? And also, how can I instill that into my kids? Mm-hmm. I can't give you a fucking answer if it saved my life. It's one thing I'm stumped on.
Well, I don't think any of us truly know. And there was
but I think there's a lot more genetics there and just God-given drive.
Maybe.
Because it's what was chicken and the egg, right? So, yeah, you were disciplined in sport, but you wanted to be. Yes, your dad kicked you into touch, but you allowed him to.
Right.
How'd you go, fuck off, I'm not bothering? Regardless of who he was and how there was something in
yeah,
you.
no doubt. I mean, they were just things that
they probably just enhanced you.
Yeah,
they were performance enhancers, right?
Yeah, they were. They were performance enhancers.
Just more natural.
Yeah, just ones that pass the blood test.
Trend's better.
But I think the fundamentals of what makes someone driven aren't known, and no one can study that. There's been triggers that will have been installed into us through childhood, through things that we saw, things that we were made to believe or decided to believe ourselves, that make you feel a certain type of way about certain things. I don't know why I think the adult industry needed to be more moral. I don't know where I came up with that. That's how I felt. And so a lot of the mission that our business relies on was just something that we decided to feel. Are we right or wrong for thinking that? Who really knows? Is there even right or wrong? So I don't necessarily think there is any formula for how we feel or why we do things. But that's why we're all so different and why we all have such amazing things to bring to the world. So I don't think you need to find the answer.
No, I just find it absolutely, because I'm one of these guys. I do believe in patterns and observing and reverse engineering, as you do.
Yeah, sure.
It's one thing I ask everybody because I've struggled to find out for myself. That's why I'm interested in other people's, because I'm pretty good at figuring stuff out. Psychology, I do a lot of psychoanalyzing people. People like me, it's one of my gifts. But I can't figure this one out. Mm-hmm. And I still try to reverse engineer that from other people. And you can reverse engineer certain traits of success, things that they've done, and certain parenting things have obviously helped. But this internal drive that people have seems to come from, it's God-given. I'm not religious by any means, but there is something there.
I do agree with you. I mean, there's always things that you can piece together from your own or other people's upbringings that maybe pave the way for certain things.
That's the shit that's exciting, right? I like the stuff you can't explain.
Yeah,
because
it's also something that separates us from others. I know that I'll always do well in this world, not because I think I'm given any sort of gift or that I've got any talent, because I actually don't think I've got any of those things. I definitely wasn't born with any unique talents or anything that I can do that others can't. I just know I'm willing to put more in, and if I aren't as good as you at something, well, I fucking will be soon. And that's just it's a frame of mind, really, that you don't necessarily have to be born with. Anybody can adopt that. There's young guys such as the chap there who I see evolve with time, and it comes into you. Even in a short space of time, you can adopt a lot of that frame of mind anyway. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely self-taught, a lot of that stuff.
How come you've decided to stick around in the UK and haven't left to a country like Dubai or go to Miami?
So I'm a big believer that you can create your own world and your own environment. And although you can't necessarily change things like the weather, you can absolutely change the environment. And I think for a lot of people that moan about the UK, it doesn't stem from issues within the UK. Don't get me wrong, I don't think the UK is the best place to live, but I think that it can absolutely be a great place to live if you make it. I'm very happy and content here because I've created my perfect reality. I live in a custom-made reality that I'm incredibly proud of. I drive whatever car, around great people, doing whatever I want every day. And that for me is peak happiness as a guy. But none of that's manufactured through the UK's way of living. In fact, that's manufactured through myself. So I personally don't feel the urge to get up and go because I have everything I need here. My team members, my business, my family, my home, everything's here. I don't need to leave. That doesn't mean I don't think there's potentially, the equivalent or better opportunities elsewhere because there are. But I don't think you need to run away from your problems and blame the country that you're in. If you have a environment that you're in that's suboptimal, that's your fault. And the second you realize that and take accountability is the second that you start fixing that and building your own custom-made reality.
For me, the UK is one of the best countries on the planet when it's good. And I was born here, I was raised here, and people still think the grass is greener. Yet if you go to most countries on the planet, they are very much lacking. The UK is safe. We have good laws. We have, for the most part, it's a brilliant country. And it used to be one of the best countries on the world. We had an empire that literally expanded the entire planet, the globe, from this tiny little island. And for me, rather than constantly run away from your problems, I would rather try and fight and lead by example and make a change, because the world is very small. And yes, you can run away to Dubai, you can go to Eastern Europe, you can find lower tax places, you can find places with slightly better weather or whatever it may be. However, you're going to have grandkids. They're going to have kids. At some point, if you allow this plague, this shift in society and this momentum of nonsense to continue eroding our culture, our values, our history, our ancestry, then at some point it will catch up with you and it will be gone forever. And the problems you leave behind because you ran away, you leave for someone else to deal with, and that's not a gentleman. So we are not a failed society, and I'm fucking sick and tired of people saying that we've failed. There is nothing failed about the UK. It's failing, but that's when you fight and you put your foot down and say, actually, we don't like these things, we don't like these values, we don't like the way it's going. And I'm drawing a line in the sand, and I'm going to actually demonstrate a better way of doing it and actually try and encourage other people to do the same. Because if we carry on running away, there was 10,000 millionaires that left the UK last year. They're cowards. The easy option was to run away. They love the UK. They were probably born here, raised here, and have very fond memories of this country because of the fucking people that fought for them to get this country to where it is today. Yet they ran away, undoing all of that hard work that these people fought, literally fucking trenches for, to keep. We're obligated as men that are working, that are fighting age, and I'm not talking about physically fighting, we don't have to do that anymore. We just have to say, actually, this is a fucking great country. Thank you for the people that have got us here. We're not just going to hand it over because some shit government or some woke culture or a shift in society has allowed us to actually not believe that we can actually make it great again.
If such a small island has dominated over 30% of the entire world's landmass, that shows the power of the history and what's possible from anybody. And I think if we look at any other walk of life, whether it be in business or relationships, if it is a shit show and you define it as such, does that mean it's not resolvable? Does that mean it's not still something that can be fixed? I believe in patriotism, and I think that at some point you have to identify with the issues and fix them the same way that you would if your business was suffering. I don't believe in running away. I'm fond of traveling, and I intend to travel the entire globe. But my home will probably always be here, to be truthful. And I think that's because even if it is a shithole, it's my shithole, it's our shithole, and it's down to us to fix it. So running away won't do that. Identifying with the opposition isn't the resolution in anything.
I'll shake a hand with that. I like that.
Cool.
Your opinions on saving yourself rich?
The thesis behind saving your money is something that I just can't really identify with. In what world is money in a bank account good for anybody in any account? On first accounts, you're going to lose the majority of that with inflation. On second accounts, you're going to see very little usability of the funds that likely won't even be there. And if they are being saved, even in something sensible like the S&P, well, who the fuck wants money when they're 60? What are you going to do with it then? I'm sure I can spend it better now. I'm confident that I can spend money better today than I can spend it in 10, 20, 30 years. And I also believe that when you do have the leverage of nice things, such as a nice car, a nice watch, traveling the world, you meet other people that are on a similar wavelength. And when two people with nice things come together, guess what happens? Well, those people also happen to make new things that make more money, and this continues to evolve, and it compounds with time. So spending money is the best form of investing that you can possibly have. There's a big difference between spending and wasting. I don't identify with blowing money. I've never been caught once drinking alcohol without purpose, partying. You've never seen me in, nightclubs. Just nobody will account for that because nobody's seen that. That's not a thing I identify with. But you will see me blowing a lot of money on cars I don't need. You will see me blowing a lot of money on private jets with family members to share the experience. Did I need to do that? No. But I tell you what it does do. It buys respect from people that you want to be around. And we all say that network is our net worth, but nobody acts on it. People say it in the pub with 5 dorks. Well, actually, if you do live life with purpose, spend money on things that you're passionate about, I believe you will make more money than if you parked it up in a safe investment. And I can say that confidently. I'll die on that hill.
Money of itself is just leverage as a tool. And like you said, you can't do anything with it. And it's probably more dangerous in the bank than anywhere else right now because I don't trust those sneaky motherfuckers at all. Mm-hmm. The thing that blew my mind the most is the day I met a guy that was making £1 million a day from his business. And I had this in my mind of like, I still need to invest a certain amount of money, trying to safeguard myself. And I met this guy. It changed everything for me. Because in that moment, I realized that once you actually get a vehicle that can print money, you don't need to worry about saving it because you can just print it. You can just turn on the taps. So what I need to use is this tool to create the skills and the environment so that I can just simply print it. And what most people need to do, rather than figure out what they can do with their 5 or 10 grand, which I get messages about every single day, where should I invest my 10K? In becoming a money printer. Become skillful enough or build a business that just prints, because I have never seen wealth like it when you understand how to make it. You wouldn't bother saving a penny anymore if you saw how some people make it.
If you actually ask anybody who saves their money why they do it, they run out of ideas real quick as well.
The only time I've actually seen it is when someone's made so much money they actually run out of ideas of how they can deal with it or just have given up. They're making so much of it, like, I should just save it. They're the only ones that really save it for a good reason. Because
they're not saving it in the intention of having it one day.
No, exactly.
They've just spent it all and have a leftover.
And just can't think of any more innovative ways.
Spending money is... Having access to the nicest things in life will give you, by proxy, the opportunity to double down on that just in the networking alone. Never mind the leverage that it creates for you in any given industry.
So I'll finish on this. And I did some work for, I won't say the company, but a gym equipment company. And the owner was very successful. And he really helped me actually in this whole notion because he introduced me to the idea of getting private jets. So he had a NetJets membership. He said, Elliot, do you fly private? And at the time I'd never flown private. It wasn't something I did. And he was like, you need to. I was like, I'm not quite at that point yet. He went, no, you need to. He went, when I got my first NetJets membership card, or how many hours it was of flight time, he said, I couldn't afford it. However, I knew that I couldn't afford not to because of the people that I was going to meet. He said, as soon as I started flying private, and NetJets, what they do is they set up little events. So they want you to use the money. So they'll give you like a box at the F1 or in some other country. They'll book a chateau in Scotland that you have to fly up in your private, you cast in Scotland, you fly up in your private jet and you meet a load of other people. So the contacts that it gave me from flying private and being in and around those circles helped him build the business that he had today. And he gave me some actual real life examples of the people that then had actually engineered the business he had now.
It goes profound into everything. Like even people that I've just bought a supercar off have put me in touch with somebody that I'm now in business with. Like the kind of people that you will be around just by proxy of the mutual interest in the finer things in life is enough in itself to see the ROI directly on whatever you buy.
Providing you're not a crock-wearing, vape-smoking arsehole, then it doesn't matter what environment you're in, you're not going to get a look in.
No, agreed.